Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where we talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about Watari-kun is About to Collapse, Season 1, Episode 7. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. Well, first and foremost, we're immediately picking up where the last episode left off, and as I figured as much, Naoto, not to turn Yukari down, but for him it's like he just doesn't feel like he deserves to go out with her because he's like, I've got so much going on in my mind, right? Like there's things I have to figure out first. But he also says like, yeah, if you want to, like, you know, like I'm sorry to kind of turn you down. It's not like I don't have any feelings towards you. It's just I have to figure some stuff out first. And he on like I think subconsciously the Sasuke of it is a component, but I think on the forefront of his mind, there's other elements he talks about with Toki later on, but we'll get to that in a second. But he needs to figure stuff out, and he's like, you know, I understand if you meet someone out there, because he's like, I'm sure there's someone out there much better than me, so he's not going to fault her. But she's like, no, like the fact of the matter is, I want to be with you and only you. The fact is, you're so kind and thoughtful, and it's like, if you had told me you had no feelings for me whatsoever, I would have given up. I would have left it then and there. But what you're telling me is you do have feelings for me. So she's like, okay, so what we'll do is until summer break, we'll be on a dating trial basis. And that way we can kind of get a feel of things. And after that, you can give me your decision. He's like, no. Like, I'm not worthy enough of that. But she's like, no, I want to do this, you know? Because she's like, I want to, like, I know what I want and I want to be with you. And so now they are kind of dating, asterisk, on a trial basis. And so he ends up bringing this up to Toki. They're hanging out. And it's like, oh, why didn't you just outright tell her, like, you like her, right? And it's like, why didn't you just outright say yes? And for him, it's like, well, he's like, I'm already thinking about the future. He's like, well, graduation with Toki's like, yo, graduation's like a year away. He's like, yeah, but I have a lot to think about. Like, me and Suzu, I'm thinking about her, and the fact is, he's like, I want to get a job, and so I can save up enough money so that when we live on our own, because he's like, we're living with our aunt for now, but we can't stay there forever, you know? But his aunt would probably be like more okay with like him living on his own and Suzu staying with her. But it's like I said, there's that codependent relationship that they have where they like, it's like we're the only direct family we have left. So he would never want to put Suzu in the situation. He'd leave her with his aunt. Plus he would feel like he's burdening her, and he'd also feel like he'd be burdening Suzu because he doesn't want Suzu to feel like he's abandoning her. So like, we're a team. So wherever I go, wherever I stay, I'm bringing you with me. And because he also, I think there's a part in his brain that still thinks the living situation with his aunt, like he's always made it clear in the beginning of the season too, like it's always been temporary in his mind, because every other household they were in prior in the past 2 years of their parents being deceased, every time they were with some relatives, they always got passed on to someone else and left behind. So it's like he always treated this as temporary anyway. And I'm curious how their aunt would feel about it if she knew that this was kind of like going through his mind. Once again, she has issues with Naoto because she sees too much of its dad, her brother, in him. Once again, still have no idea what that stems from. Either way, so he's got to think about all that type of stuff, but he also wants to like have enough money saved up later on to like really kind of like treat her right. And you know, then because he also wants to use this as an opportunity. It's like, if I can do this, if I can show him like grow, I can build up confidence, because he has self-esteem issues and he just doesn't think he could ever be good enough. But he's like, I want to be confident enough to believe I am worthy enough. I want to be the person that I don't want to disappoint her, because I feel like if I accepted her feelings, eventually I disappoint her, because I'd never live up to be the person, not only the person she thinks I might be or could be, but also the person she deserves to be with, you know? And so Toki's like, well, you guys are dating essentially, but how does that make you feel? He's like, oh my God, it's amazing. And then Satsuki, who's working here, is like, yo, like this is, you guys are dating now. Oh, that's okay. And Satsuki kind of wears that mask well. She tries, at least around Naoto, she tries to pretend like she's okay. But I think she feels comfortable around Toki to like drop the mask, because he kind of sees through her in a way Naoto's unable to. And I think, once again, they're kind of not two sides of the same coin, but I think they're two peas in a pod, and they kind of, their respective situations are what they are. I think, once again, I think he's very similar to her and Naoto as he is with that Toki is with Satsuki, so. But Satsuki's like, oh, I'm not actually going to be working here for long. I'm actually getting another job because there's one that pays better. So, I wonder if there's a part of Naoto that was initially, because he pretends like, oh, I don't care. She's like, oh, you're going to miss the fact that you can't work with me? He's like, no, I don't care. I think it probably made it easier for him to be like, oh, it's nice to work in a place where there's someone you know. And so, yeah, he goes back there to meet with like the manager or whatever. And Toki's like, are you sure? Are you really okay with this? And for her, she's like, we're childhood friends. So that, I forgot the exact phrasing, but it was basically like, childhood friends is a very special relationship. It's even something that Yukari referenced, where she was like, I don't want to lose and not have any connection to you because we're not family, nor are we childhood friends. So I don't want there to kind of be nothing between us. So that's why she wants this whole situation to work, why she wants to at least try it out, As for what Satsuki said about them being childhood friends, I feel like there's two ways you could interpret that. It could be interpreted as our bond as childhood friends. We have history, and what we had when we were younger, it's still there. It obviously still means something to Naoto, so that bond can never be replaced or like subsided by anything else. Or you could also look at it as her being like, I'm always going to be in his heart to some extent because we're childhood friends. So maybe when this trial run or whatever is over, like maybe it still puts me in the running. So like I feel like you could interpret that two ways, and it's hard to say which way. It feels like the latter is more so what she meant. I think that's how she feels, and the latter is how she feels. The former is how she's presenting it, I think. It seems similar, but there is like a difference. In I guess in intention is what kind of what I'm referencing. But yeah, he waits when the manager's like, oh, like wait in here with the other interviewee, and I'm like, is it going to be the other girl? And it is. We later on we find her name out at the end of the episode. It's Makina. But what was interesting is when Naoto goes over, he's like, why does she look so familiar? He's like, do I know? It's like, why do I know her? Like. She's wearing a different school uniform. He's like, I definitely don't know anyone from a different school. He's like, I also like, do I know her from TV? And it's like, no. He's leaning into her face. She wakes up. Your typical shenanigan field like misunderstanding. It's like, yo, he tried to assault me. You were trying to kiss me, weren't you? He was like, no. He's trying to explain, and the manager's like, no, come on. It's okay. And he's like, really, that's all it was. And so he's in his head, it's like, I definitely didn't get the job. I'm definitely screwed. But then Makina looks at his files on for the interview, and she sees his name and eventually, tracks him down at the end of the episode. We'll get to that later. But he's like heading to the station, and lo and behold, who's there waiting is Yukari. It's like, oh, like I figured you might be heading this direction to kind of go home. He's like, sorry, I don't have a smartphone. But he's like, yeah, if I get this job or whatever, I'll get enough money to actually own a phone and we can keep in contact. But it's like, no, like you don't have to worry about it too much, because she's like, I still managed to find you even without being able to contact you that way. Because there's also the element of we're also dating. It kind of makes it easier and convenient to be able to meet up, and they're walking home together, and it's kind of awkward. And Yukari's like, oh, like basically she wants to actually go out on an actual proper date. And it's like, oh, like, which is nice. And it's like, but the problem is he already had plans with Suzu. And it's, well, because she was going to be home alone because I guess their aunt's not there. Or maybe it's just kind of like, I was about to say, no, I don't think it's the weekend. Or maybe they just don't have school. I think it might be a thing of maybe they just didn't have school, or she didn't have school. I don't know what the situation was, but he said like she would have been home alone. So maybe it's just like their aunt wouldn't have been there, so he had to take her along. So Yukari is very understanding, and I love that she's like, hey, I'm a friend, I'm a classmate of Naoto's, like, I'm Yukari. And then like Suzu's like, you're not gonna trick me by being so pretty and very like pretending to be nice. And it's like, yeah, Yukari's personality is wearing you down. She's like a bright light burning through like that, shadowy protectiveness she has for her brother. But she's not the only one that kind of tagged along on this date, because it turns out Toki and Satsuki have, and they're like, oh, well, we were meant to just like make sure everything didn't fall apart immediately. It's like, wow, bringing your little sister on your first date's kind of wild, but hey, we should probably get out of here. And Suzuki's like, no, you could go home. She's like, I'm staying. And she's creeping and stuff like that. And Taoki's takeaway is like, she must do this a lot because it feels like you're kind of experienced at this. They're following them around their dates at a zoo. I didn't talk about it, but yeah, like, and they're going around and having a lot of fun seeing the different animals. I love that Suzuki can't handle it because she's like, it's my first time here and it's kind of scary. And the giraffes look at her. She's like, oh, and because Toki was like, hey, like, if you want to kind of like impress guys, you probably want to just like lean into the cute response would be like, yo, I find these animals cute instead of scary. You'll probably get more attention that way. But then he's also like, yeah, but you being a little fearful of the zoo. It's like, honestly, that adds some like points to the kawaii column. So it's kind of like it has its own like benefits as well as that just being how she is. They ended up stopping to have lunch, which the lunch was made by Yukari, which Naoto is thinking about the porridge that he ate, which he was a little nervous. So he's telling Suzu, like, no, let me eat it first. But it's like, oh, okay, never mind, it's good. But we also find out Yukari's mom helped her because it's like, well, when you're preparing stuff, like food has to be prepared a certain way to be kept from spoiling during the summer. So, especially if you're going to wait, you make it in advance and then keep it for a bit. You have to prepare it a certain way. So now the conversation then becomes, well, the thing is this meal only good because her mom helped her, or would it have been okay regardless? Well, the summer element of like the heat and stuff like that and preparing it the right way would have been a hampering aspect of it. But who knows, how the porridge situation might have just been what it was because of the like specific porridge she made just because she thought this would help. But that might not be an indicator of her food. So we'll actually have to wait for a third option where she makes food on her own to be the determining factor on whether or not she can cook or not. So we'll see. But Naoto's saying like next time he'll prepare the food, and obviously Suzu is knocked out, and they're getting closer, even eventually like touching fingers, but Suzu waking up kind of interrupts that. There's also this element of, it's like Toki's like, okay, we've spied on them enough, do you want to go back? And she's like, no, you can go back, because he's like, I gotta go soon. And I think it's interesting, the thing that kind of he was latching onto looking around was like, it's basically a whole bunch of families, a whole bunch of couples with their children. And I'm curious, like, at first I was like, oh, you're going to read this as like a young couple with their child or something like that. Even though she's clearly being like One-chan, like, like calling him, sorry, not One-chan, sorry, what I said, Oni-san. Like, she's clearly saying all that, but, from an outside perspective, like, it could be viewed as, like, to a couple with their young child or something. But, like, the fact is that's what Toki was latching onto. I don't know if it's because, like, maybe that's kind of, like, him focusing on, maybe that's a little personal to him, like, maybe he has a complicated family dynamic. Or this might correlate to the thing that that Satsuki told him last episode, that it's, like, the thing she wants is, I didn't even think about it at the time. She probably wants a family, considering like her family, for whatever reason, wants nothing to do with her, or she wants nothing to do with them because she's living on her own and trying to make ends meet on her own. So maybe that's why Toki was looking at all those couples, because he's probably thinking to himself, like, all this might be a little like, he could tell, like, see, because even Suzuki's like, I actually can't explain to you why I'm doing what I'm doing, like, but I am. And that's why I get the feeling like the couple thing might have something to do with what she said. She probably said the thing that she wants, that she's like, Naoto and he can't, and Toki can never understand. It's like, she probably said, I want a family, and that's something like they can, and Toki's like, I can understand that to some extent. So he might have a complicated, it probably is not the same as hers, obviously, but, a lot of people have their own complicated family circumstances. It's just, it's varying degrees of complication. It's a spectrum of complication. So that's what I'm taking away from that scene, but we'll have to wait to see. But yeah, like I said earlier, like they, Naoto and Yukari like touch hands, and then like they freak out because Suzu gets up, goes off to the bathroom on her own, ends up bumping into Toki and Satsuki, and they're like, she ends up running into everyone else too. So it's like, hey, we needed to make sure everything was bad. Everything was okay. Our bad. And Satsuki's like, yeah, my bad. He's like, I understand Toki being here, but you, Satsuki, he's like, this is constantly like, you're always doing stuff like this. But they end up taking Suzu. So it's like, oh, let's leave them alone. Because she'd already been catching the vibes, but as she's walking with them, Suzu's like, so Yukari and Naoto. And she's like, never mind. It's like, because even she's kind of getting like, she's very much in the same boat as Satsuki, where it's just like it's because she has a fear of like, she already lost their parents, and it's like she doesn't want to lose her brother. It's like, and she has that deeper fear from a young age of all the time he spent with Satsuki. But then it's like, after they had their falling out, it's like we had each other, like, it's so it doesn't seem like Naoto really had too many friends of it, because it's not like she's completely cutting him off for anyone else, because like when she was introduced to like Toki, she was happy about it. Once again, it's specifically Satsuki and Yukari she's suspicious of. It's like any girls in his life, but especially Satsuki, because there's history there. But it's because like, I think she associates any girl in her brother's life as like, it's just a stand-in for Satsuki, taking time away. Like, it's like, oh, my brother's going to get drawn away by a girl. A guy, not really. So guys aren't her like worry. It's girls. So, but they do have a cute moment where it's just kind of like, yeah, they're kind of at the same stage as like a certain other cute couple that are in the hand-holdy stage and having their little hand moments recently. Once again, no spoilers, so I won't reference anything directly, but if you've been watching enough anime recently, I'm sure it could fit any number of series, but there's a very specific series with a lot of, which is going to sound very perverted for me to say, but it's not. It's meant to be actually a very like pure and wholesome thing. It's a lot of hand stuff. Like I said, the phrasing is going to make it sound perverted, but I mean it in a very cute, wholesome way. But they're like, he's about to reach for her hand, and he's kind of pulling away, but she sees it and grabs onto his finger, and then they actually properly hold hands. And it means the world to them, because it's like, oh my God. Because he had previously said like, oh, I want to get enough money so I can take you like anywhere. But for her, it's like, I'm fine with going anywhere, as long as it's with you, even if it's with Suzu as well. I'd love that. So you don't have to do anything special. And so the whole hand holding thing made him feel so good. It made her feel good until she's thinking about the fact is, wait, Satsuki and him have already kissed. Because she kept thinking about Satsuki, because it's like, because she knows like how Satsuki feels about him, but it's kind of like, she made her declaration. It's like, I'm gonna plant my flag right now. And the complicated thing is, they're dating, but it's still a trial period, so I'm sure that adds to some insecurity she has about it. But knowing like, no, Satsuki does like him, and I definitively know that. So, and also knowing like, oh, they've already kissed. And then later on, which I was not expecting, we see her at the store buying condoms. I was like, I wasn't expecting this to go there. It's interesting too, because going back to like their beach stuff and the whole Fujioka of it all, I made reference to a manga called Good Ending. Once again, I'm not going to regurgitate everything I said, but dancing around it, like I said, without TLDR, I referenced some like, there's some sexual elements to some of that story on certain elements that I was applying to Fujioka and Yukari situation, but ended up not being that way at all. But it's just interesting that there still ends up being a sexual element regardless. It's like, wow, that's pretty fast considering like you guys are still in a trial basis and you're thinking like that. But I think there's like a deeper psychological thing of her being twofold. Either she's thinking, well, they've kissed already. What else have they done that I'm not aware of? Or two, they've kissed already. They had such a special moment. I've never kissed anybody. And now I'm like, I want to one-up her. I want to make sure Naoto is mine, and the easiest way to do that is to have sex, because she probably doesn't know whether or not Naoto's had sex before or not, which I kind of get feeling, well, not kind of, definitely know he hasn't. He's still a virgin, and so for her it might be a thing of me giving him my virginity will kind of just, make it even more like we're locked in, and let him know like how serious I am about it. Because there's such an interesting, like, detail, like, when you look at her after she bought the condom, like, she's blushing a little bit, but, like, and when you look at her eyes, the irises disappear. It's almost like a glazed over look in her eyes, where it's just like, you could also just be like, I mean, you could look at that, I guess, from a comedic standpoint, and just like, she's so embarrassed, she's disassociating, or there could be a little twinge of something a little darker there of the whole element of I gotta make sure I win him over, and the easiest way would be like when summer break is over, like I'm going to like we're going to have sex, and that's going to make this much more real. It's going to make it more likely to kind of lock him down and connect us. There's ways to look at that, and I'm so curious to see what happens. And then finally, at the end of the episode, we have Makina waiting out front, and some guys come like, "Oh, like who are you waiting for?" She's like, "Hey, like we could hang out, but first and foremost, find Watari-kun and bring him. Tell him like I'm here to see him." And it's like, and she says the word was it Kohei because I was looking for that earlier. I can't remember what I was watching. It was something like earlier. It's some point during this week. I was trying to remember the word, which is essentially like the opposite of like senpai. It's like, oh, the reference to someone younger than you. So yeah, that I'm curious what that's all about. Like, why go through all this trouble? Like, I wonder is she gonna frame it like, yo, you tried to do something to me, and I'm trying to get back at you, while secretly having another motive. Like, her real thing is like, oh, I do know you, and there's something here, and maybe she's got the same feeling of, I do feel like I know you, but I can't place it either, and she's trying to find out, but she's using the pretense of, oh, like, you try to make a move on me, which that's probably going to complicate things a lot more, which I'm curious how Suzuki's going to handle that, how Yukari's going to handle that, especially because they're dating. Obviously, like, exams are coming up, summer break is almost here, too, so much is happening all at once. I wasn't expecting us to meet her so late into the anime. Like, we're already like, I think this is a 12 episode, maybe 13 episode anime, so we're like already like the halfway point. So that's so interesting to me that we would like, but I guess that's kind of the point. Like, I think I brought it up earlier in the season too, that this kind of gave me Nisekoi vibes, and obviously like the introduction of the other girls, because it's like it's mainly just two girls in the beginning, then there's a third girl added into the fray where you're like, well, she came into the fray in a different way, but she ends up playing a part in this, and then you meet another girl. Like I said, I believe in totality there's 5 girls in the Sekoi around the main protagonist. Isn't his name Koi, I believe, or is it just I think it's like Koi, but I can't remember. Either way, tangents and all that aside, once again, that's a series I have to circle back to because I never finished. I actually don't know the ending to it. I think I came across something that hinted at what the ending was without going into it, but like I say, tangents and all that aside. So I'm curious to see where the next episode takes us with this. With us getting a proper introduction to Makina, personality wise, and what she's actually trying to get from Naruto, or what this whole setup is. We'll see. But really, that's all I wanted to talk about. So the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and goodbye.